Welcome back to the channel into week 14 of the NFL. We got another video jam-packed full of free picks coming your way today. But before we dive into this week's action, we need to take a look back at week 13 and how that ended up going down. Man, we had a great week 13, man. Let's go. A 10-1 day. Boy, only little buffer on that is that look, I was a little hesitant, right? I've been in a little bit of a lull, man, been up and down, and then kind of had a down week there in week 12, where we lost a little over 2.5 units, sitting at 7 and 8 overall in week 12, right? So came into week 13 a little hesitant, man, put half units on everything, and we go 10-1. So wish we would have put full units on the board across the board. But hey, man, you got to take a good day like that when they come our way. We were still up over 5.25 units on week 13, so can't be mad about that whatsoever, right? Like I said, 10-1, up over 5 units. Man, sitting at 55, 37, and 1 on the year now. We are up over 12.76 units on the season, so feeling good about that, man, but we're going to look to keep stacking on that, man. Let's have another positive week this week here. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Let's jump over to Outlier for our first pick of the week. First play I'm going to be looking at today, it's going to be a money line play. It's going to be my dog of the week, man. I'm taking the Seahawks plus 125 over the Cardinals in Arizona. This one's kicking off at 4:05. Now, look, man, we can scroll down here. I'm just going to start right here, right off the rip. Public is all over Arizona. Look at that. 80% of the money's on the money line for Arizona. 77% of the money is on the Arizona spread. And I get it, man. This is a big game for both teams. Seahawks sitting at 7-5, Cardinals 6-6. Look, in a NFC West that's kind of up for grabs, man, right? So I totally get it, man. This is a game that the Cardinals have to get. And this would put them in solid position there in the NFC West. However, look, these two teams did just face off 2 weeks ago, right? Yeah, 2 weeks ago in Seattle. That was a 16-6 win for the Seahawks. And if you come over here, let's go ahead and look at the stats real quick. This is what I find interesting about that game there. It's the Cardinals, man, they have a distinct area that they could take advantage of. They are 6th when it comes to rushing yards, right? The Seahawks are 21st defending the run. You look at this game, man. James Conner had 7 attempts in this game, 7 rushing attempts. And I just don't get it. I don't understand why. Seattle was also able to contain Kyler Murray, man, keep him in the pocket. He wasn't able to go off either. Arizona couldn't muster anything on the ground against the Seattle defense. And like I said, only 7 rushing attempts for James Conner. And, sometimes, the game plan shifts, right? You got to move away from the run. I don't understand why they would here. It was a tight game going in. It was midway through the third quarter. It was still 7-3. Seattle did have the lead, but 7-3. You don't have to abandon the run at that point. So kind of concerning there from an Arizona offense perspective. And there, we can go ahead and flip these real quick. There are areas there also where Seattle can take advantage. Now, they have struggled in the run game themselves, right? Only 28th overall. They are sitting with the second best passing attack in the NFL, going up against a 17th ranked Cardinals passing defense, just kind of middle of the pack there, right? So, not the best look there for Arizona. If we scroll down here again, we can see, man, I talked about this last week when I took the Seahawks. They were on the road last week against the Jets. Man, they are 4-1 on the road, right? The Cardinals are 4-2 at home, so that's we can't overlook that. And this is one of those ones where, like, if you're part of the public here, you with that 80%, man, can't really like argue you. I can see a path for Arizona. Like I said, they're the more desperate team here, and they have had the hardest schedule in the league. You can see right here they are sitting at first in terms of strength of schedule, while the Seahawks are all the way down at 19th. So I definitely can see a path for the Arizona Cardinals as well. I'm just saying right now, man, I like this. I like the Seahawks on the money line for plus money. In a game where, like I said, it's important for both teams. Arizona is the more desperate team in the situation, but Seattle is sitting at the top of the division. They want to hold that lead. This will help further the gap. So a big game for both sides here. A divisional game, they can kind of go either way. So this is one of those ones that we're kind of taking a risk on no matter which way you put it. So I'm going to take a risk with plus money. You know what I mean? So we can get this at plus 125 either at ESPN Bet or Bet365. And then across the board, man, if you don't have either of these, like the odds are looking good anywhere you look, right? Between DraftKings, Caesars, FanDuel, and BetMGM, you're not getting this any less than bet or plus 120. So I like this one here, guys. That's the Seahawks on the money line over the Arizona Cardinals. Then next up, I'm looking at the Chicago Bears plus 3.5 against the San Francisco 49ers in San Fran. This one's kicking off at 425. Now we can get this one at minus 110 on FanDuel right now. Now, look, I know the Bears have struggled, right? They've lost what, 6 in a row now. But they've lost their last 3 in like tight fashion, right? And against good teams. 20-19 to the Packers in a game that like they probably should have won. 30-27 against the Vikings, another good team. 20-23 on Thanksgiving against the Lions, and we all know what happened there with that debacle at the end of the game. Just horribly managed, horrible time management there from the head coach, who is now not the head coach. He has since been fired, which kind of leads me into this pick, man. This is kind of, there's not like data and trends to back this up. This is just my personal, I guess, opinion, from years and years of watching sports and just my perspective of it. You look at these teams, man, like in these situations where somebody gets fired in this situation, these kind of moments, these are when teams kind of like rally, right? So that's kind of what I see here, man. The coach has been fired. We've already had a switch in the offensive coordinator, and we saw some improvement from the offensive side since then. We now have a switch from the head coaching perspective, or from that standpoint. I think the Bears rally here, man. I think, they've had these 3 tightly contested games. I think they break through here. Look, man, I like the Bears on the money line too, and that's my next play, right? I'm looking at the Bears on the money line as well, plus 155. I think I'm going to sprinkle on that one. Probably put like a quarter unit on that. Maybe we split it, put a half unit on both, but I'm thinking probably a quarter unit on the money line, 3/4 of a unit on this plus 3.5, and just split a unit between there, right? Um, I like it, man. I definitely think that Chicago keeps this one close, but I think they have a chance to win this one here. San Francisco's just been ravished by injuries this year, right? Like they're down to what, their 3rd or 4th string running back. Ayuk is out, Purdy's been in and out. There's injuries on the defensive side of the ball. This team is struggling in all angles, right? And you can just see it across the board. This isn't the San Francisco defense that you're used to. They're sitting at 24th in terms of scoring defense. That's not common, right? They're not getting to the quarterback in the way that they have in the past. They're sitting at 21st, 23rd, and 23rd in terms of sacks, QB hits, and QB hurries. They're 30th in terms of tackles for losses. So, like I said, man, this is just not the San Francisco team that you're used to. Teams aren't getting a shitload of yards, and they're holding them to the 4th fewest passing yards. They're middle of the pack, 15th at rushing yards. But everywhere else, man, 31st in terms of red zone efficiency, and you're going up against a Bears team that's sitting at 4th in terms of red zone efficiency for offense, right? So I don't know, man. I think Chicago can keep close with the San Francisco team. I definitely think they can stay within this 3.5. And like I said, man, I like sprinkling on that money line too at plus 155. And you can get that plus 155 over there at ESPN Bet. It's plus 154 at FanDuel. And similar to that last money line play with the Seahawks, man, anywhere you look, if you're not on either of these sports books, anywhere you look, DraftKings is the lowest right now at plus 142. So kind of can't go wrong there. I like this one quite a bit. Like I said, sprinkling on the money line and then throwing probably a more sizable chunk of the unit onto the spread, but dividing up a unit some way between those two. I'm tempted to just throw it all on the money line, man, but I'm trying to be a little bit safe, practice some good bankroll management here. But so yeah, those are the next 2 plays there. Kind of combined them into one there. Bears plus 3.5, and then also the Bears on the money line. And be sure to check that link down there in the pinned comment. It's going to direct you over to the Guy Boston Sports website. That's where the final place will be living. You can check that out after we get that link in there to see which or how I end up splitting up this unit. Then next up, I'm going to be throwing together a 3-team money line parlay, looking at the Steelers over the Browns, the Chiefs over the Chargers, and then, man, I'm throwing a dart with my Bengals over the Cowboys. So looking at those Steelers, man, they have lost to the Browns in the last 2 previous head-to-head matchups between these two. The Browns did come in. Well, that was a Thursday night game that they won in Cleveland in that snow game, right? That was a great game. But like I said, 2 straight wins for the Browns. But these 2 teams, they've split the season matchups the last 2 seasons now. I just don't see this version of the Steelers dropping 2 games to the Browns this season, right? Not to this version of the Browns. Not in Pittsburgh. Not with the way the Steelers are rolling. I just don't see it, man. The Steelers are minus 285 favorites in this one for a reason. I'm rolling with that. Then looking at the Chiefs and the Chargers, the Chiefs have rolled off 6 straight victories over the Chargers now, dating back to 2021. The last time the Chargers beat them was just a 6-point victory back in 21. Um, I've said it week in and week out. Anytime I take any kind of Kansas City Chiefs play, they have not played their best football yet. That's what's scary. Week in and week out, we see them just kind of play to 60% of their potential, and they're still finding ways to win week in and week out. I don't see where it changes this week, man. This is a great Charger team. Do not get it twisted. If this was in Los Angeles, I might feel a little bit differently. But I don't see the Chargers coming into Arrowhead right now and taking down these Chiefs. Um, and on the money line, where I don't have to worry about any kind of points, give me the Chiefs all day until proven otherwise. Then as far as the Bengals, look, man, this might be a homer pick. It probably is. I've seen these boys, I've seen this group of guys for the last couple years, man. I can't see Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase coming out here and losing a 4th straight game. I think they'll drop 60 to make sure that don't happen, right? And they damn well might have to with this defense we're rolling out. But that's where I'm at there. Like I said, there's not a lot of data here supporting that. There's not anything really trend-wise where I'm like, yeah, Bengals, Bengals, Bengals. I was kind of surprised that they were favorites in the manner that they were, right? I'm thinking, 2.5, 3.5 point favorite. Look, I know it's Cooper Rush out there, but the Cowboys do have that rush, or that pass rush still. This offensive line of the Bengals it's this offensive line of the Bengals that we've come to know. So, like I said, might be a homer pick here, but 4 straight losses for Burrow and Chase and the manner that they're playing right now. I don't think so, man. I'm going to go ahead and roll with the Bengals in this one. If we combine all 3 of those together, we can get that at plus 182. So I'm definitely digging that, man. You got to love those odds. That's over here on DraftKings as well. This pick I'm going to be looking at is a total between the the Atlanta Falcons and the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. This is a 1 p.m. kickoff. I'm looking at an alternate under 46.5, and you can get that at minus 115 on FanDuel right now. If we look down here, let's look at this insight from Outlier real quick. The under has hit in 5 of the Atlanta Falcons' last 5 games versus top 10 scoring defenses at a 100% rate. So 5 straight times we've seen them hit the under versus those top 10 scoring defenses. The Vikings are sitting at 4th in terms of scoring defense. So that's definitely a good look. We like that there. Let's go ahead and look at it for the full season. We can see here that the Falcons are sitting at a 50-50 rate, right, as far as hitting under. Let's go ahead and switch that back. That went back to the original there. So let's hit that alternate line, get that back to where we wanted at, 46.5. So yeah, we got that at 46.5. That's what we're looking at here. So we can see that they've hit that at a 50-50 rate, right? But they have come under that mark in 3 straight games. And this offense has been struggling. 17 points, 6 points, 13 points last week. And like I said, now we're facing the Minnesota Vikings with that 4th-ranked scoring defense. There are sections here where, obviously the Falcons are 5th in terms of passing yards, going up against a Viking unit that is sitting at 28th in terms of passing defense, right? But we're not talking about yards, man. We can let them get yards all day as long as we're keeping them out of the end zone, and that's where that 4th-ranked scoring defense comes into play. And if we look over here at the Vikings, they're sitting at a 67% rate to the under, right? They've hit under this mark 4 of the last 5 games that they have played. If we look at them specifically at home, they've come underneath this mark 83% of the time. So all but once they have hit under the mark. When playing at home, that defense has stepped up, man. They've 22, 13. The only time they give up any kind of points here, really, against the Detroit Lions. That's the one game that went over this mark. They gave up 31 to the Detroit Lions in that high-flying offense. 17 to the Jets, held the Texans to 7, 17 to the Niners. So this defense is standing up strong at home. Like I said, an 83% hit rate to the under. So I like this one under 46.5. That's an alternate, and you can find it over there at FanDuel, minus 115. Then next up, I'm looking at a 2-leg player prop parlay. I'm looking at Saquon Barkley of the Eagles over here. We can get this one on BetMGM, guys. I'm over there for this parlay. This is Saquon Barkley to record over 100 rushing yards. That's at minus 275 odds, going up against the Carolina Panthers in that one. And we're looking at Chris Boswell of the Steelers over 1.5 field goals made. That one is sitting at minus 160. Let's go ahead and jump back over to Outlier so we can break those down real quick. First, looking at Chris Boswell, man, and guys, if you want to throw these in as singles, they are juiced, but it's not like it's so juiced that where it's just completely not worth it. This one is sitting at minus 160, and I think you can get that Saquon Barkley over 99.5 rushing yards still at DraftKings for I think it's minus 165. Let's go ahead and jump over real quick and see. Yeah, minus 165 over 99.5 yards for Saquon Barkley. So if you want to throw these in as singles as well, it's like I said, they're juice, but it's not so juiced to where it's just completely not worth it. It just really depends on how big of a unit you're throwing down. If you're throwing bigger units down, man, those higher odds like that, it's really, profit is profit end of the day. If you're just playing little $5, $10 bets, sitting at minus 160 might not be worth your $5 or $10. You know what I mean? You're not going to get that much back. So just kind of depends how you want to swing it. But I'm going to throw these together as a 2-leg parlay. If we hop over here to BetMGM one more time, we can see that gives us a plus 121 odds. So I like that a little bit better than those juiced odds personally. So that's what I'm going to be rolling with. Now let's look at Chris Boswell real quick. Over 1.5 on the season. He's hitting that at a 75% rate. 9 of those last 12 games. 9 of the 12 games played this season, he has hit over that mark. Now, here's the thing that I like him most, right? Because you come over here and you see, okay, the Browns are sitting at 5th in terms of field goals allowed. Well, last time they played, he did get over this mark. He only hit 2, but he was over that mark, right? This is what makes it interesting for me. This is a AFC North battle. So let's look at this down here. Let's find the AFC North battles. Well, it's been the last 3 games: Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati. In those last 3 games, he's gone over, right? These AFC North battles, man, they're typically slugfest. I don't know what the hell happened last week between the Bengals and the Steelers. Apparently, every Bengal game now is just a shootout. There's no defense, and then the other team decides they're not going to play defense either. Or maybe my Bengals offense is just that good. But this is not the season to brag about the Bengals whatsoever, so let me just shut the hell up. But look, like I said, man, these anytime these AFC North teams play, it's a slugfest, man. That last game was a 24-19 game. That's even a little more higher scoring than what we're used to seeing with these teams. This right here is what we're used to seeing from the AFC North, right? 18-16, and all 18 of those points was field goals from the Steelers, right? That's AFC North football. As the season comes down to a halt here, towards the end of the season, man, as the temperatures drop and get colder, these will become more physical battles. And I just feel like we're going to be seeing the Steelers lean on that leg of Chris Boswell, similar to what we've seen here in these last 3 weeks. But like I said, man, 75% hit rate on the season. It's not like it's out of the ordinary for Boswell or for these Steelers to lean on that leg. We cashed a lot of these Chris Boswell over 1.5 field goals made. I think we cashed probably these first 3 weeks. I'd have to go back and look, but I just kept running that back, man. It was kind of crazy to me that they were the books were giving us that, and they were giving it to us at good odds still, right? It wasn't super juiced whatsoever. So I like this one. Chris Boswell, the field goals made over 1.5. Then we hop over here and look at Saquon at 99.5 yards, right? Like, Saquon can get that in his sleep, man. He's hitting that at a 67% rate on the year, 8 of the 12 games played so far. But here's what, makes that one really interesting. The Panthers are sitting at dead last in terms of rushing yards allowed. Let's see them versus running backs. Oh, they're still dead last. And you got the best back in the league coming to you, right? Look, man, I think Saquon gets up over 100 yards. His rushing line is sitting at, I think it's 110. Let's go ahead and take a look at that, because that's not a bad look either, guys. I just like this here. This over 99.5 feels like a sure thing. All right, I'm on rushing yards. I'm just on an alternate. Let's go ahead and come down here and look at it's sitting at 1. So you can get it at minus 115 for over 109.5. You can get it at minus 113 for over 110.5. Let's go ahead and click into that one. You can see, that's where it starts getting a little more risky. That's why I like it at 99.5, right? Because he has only hit that 5 of 12 times this season over this 110 mark, right? But still, man, we're going up against a Carolina defense that's just giving up chunks and chunks and chunks of yards through the ground to running backs. And like I said, you got the best running back in the game coming your way. So I think he could clear this 110 mark even as well. So if you would rather get those better odds, put this in as a single bet. Can't hate it, man. I wouldn't talk you off of it whatsoever. I think it's a good play as well. Like I said, I just like combining that. Chris Boswell in the AFC North in an AFC North battle, getting 2 field goals. Saquon Barkley getting 100 rushing yards against a defense that can't stop shit. Man, give me that all day at plus money too. So that's what I'm going to roll with on that BetMGM pick, like I said, guys. The next play is going to be Jameis Winston, rushing yards under 9.5. You can get that at minus 110 over there at BetMGM and at Bet365. Now, every time I fade Jameis Winston, I must make it known. I absolutely love this dude. Great leader, great quarterback, man. Well, let's just say great leader. I think he's a good, solid quarterback. I'm not going to say he's a great quarterback, but great, great, great locker room guy. I think he's a probably the best backup quarterback in the NFL, man. That's what I would say. Um, but we're talking about his rushing yards here, and he's not running out of the pocket on a regular, anyways. You know what I mean? So we can see he took over. This is the week that he took over right against Baltimore. Now he's hit over this mark 2 times, 2 of the 5 games that he's played. 27 yards against the Los Angeles Chargers there. So well over the mark there. So we could just break it down to the last 5 because those are the 5 games that he's played this season. But 8 yards against the Saints, only 7 yards against the Steelers, and he just went over that mark against the Denver Broncos last week. In another game that was a surprising shootout, 41-32. But you look over here at the Steelers, man, rushing yards allowed, they sit at 4th. It's a dominant defense. We've talked about that time and time again in these videos this year. Probably the best defense that I've seen from these Steelers in the last 5 years at least, maybe even dating back farther. This is a solid defense on that side. Let's look at them against quarterbacks. Oh, man. First in the league against rushing yards allowed. So, Jameis, he's not running out of the pocket that much anyways, man. We think he's going to against these Steelers when they're sitting at first in the league. Rushing yards allowed? I don't think so, man. I don't at all. And at minus 110? Man, like I said, give me that one all day. And for our next prop, we're kind of looking at the complete opposite. Looking at my guy, Joe Burrow of the Bengals on that Monday Night Football game against the Cowboys. I'm looking at his rushing yards. I'm looking at the over 8.5. We can get that at minus 114 over there on FanDuel. Here's a big reason why, guys. Those Cowboys are sitting at 31st in terms of rushing yards allowed. Dead last in terms of rushing yards allowed when it comes to that QB position. Now, Burrow has been using those legs quite a bit these last few weeks, right? Now, the yards aren't like flying over the number, right? But let's look at him in those last 5. He has hit at an 80% rate over this 8.5-yard mark. And we've seen him time and time again. He has to scramble out of the pocket. He's got to. That line collapsed on him quite frequently. The interior line for the Bengals is just really, really weak. And then Orlando Brown Jr., the left tackle, has been injured on and off. I think he's shut down now for the rest of the season. If not, he should be. Definitely was struggling last week against the Steelers. Was fighting through injury playing that game. But yeah, like I said, the offensive line, we don't have to talk about it. Everybody knows, man. It's not up to par. Burrow's constantly forced out of the pocket. And he's done a great job of throwing on the run this year, more so than we've seen him in the past, definitely. But I do like his chance. I only need him to get 9 yards. Like he could take off for one run, man, and like he can catch that. You know what I mean? So I think that's an aspect of his game that's just sorely underrated. When you think of Burrow, you don't think about him having any kind of speed or acceleration, but he's not like this slow guy back there. I'm not saying he's a Lamar Jackson or a Jalen Hurts or any of these. He's not up to that caliber. But he's not a Tom Brady. He can get out of there. He can run, and he can catch a first down for you if you need it. So, like I said, he can catch that in just one rush, right? But, I think, 2 or 3 times running out of the pocket, he gets over that 8.5-yard mark easily. And then you're going up against a team that's struggling tremendously against the rush, specifically against quarterback scrambling. I like the chances there. So, I think this one kind of, like all Bengal games have this year, I think this one kind of turns into a shootout. I think we see Burrow, he said it in his press conference, man. He wants the Bengals to be fun. He wants to be fun to watch. That's what he looks forward to with these primetime games. They're the only team on TV. More people are tuning in. He wants to be an exciting player to watch. So I do look for him, with the season kind of a wash, what else is there to play for? So I do think that I look for Burrow to have a huge game in this one. I would look at his passing yards, all that kind of jazz. But this one right here feels like a very solid play. Like I said, you only need 9 yards for him. I'll take it all day. So Burrow rushing yards over 8.5, minus 114 over there on FanDuel. All right, I got one more play I'm looking at, and this one is a shot, guys. This is us taking a little bit of a risk, okay? I'm looking at Luke Schoonmaker of the Cowboys. He is the other tight end opposite of Jake Ferguson. I'm looking at him on an anytime touchdown. You can get that on FanDuel for plus 1,000 odds, right? Like I said, kind of a shot. This is kind of a shot, but here's my thinking, okay? See, man, he's only hit 1 touchdown on the year at 8% rate. 1 out of 12 games, right? Okay, I've talked about it before, man. We took a tight end against the Bengals last week, right? We cashed on Pat Freiermuth, reception yards against the Bengals. They're not good against tight ends, man. And also look down here. Let's flip it over to the Bengals defense, sitting at a 30th rank in terms of red zone efficiency, 27th against the pass. You know, this defense is trash. It's just complete trash. And against tight ends, they really, really struggle, and they always have, man. Even before this era, before the Zach Taylor era, just my whole life watching the Bengals, they have always struggled against tight ends. And it reigns true yet again for yet another year. Like I said, 31st for touchdowns against, 31st for touchdowns against when it comes to just tight ends as well. We scroll on down here, we can see he sits pretty pretty far down the list in terms of targets, right? Let's look at red zone targets as well. And we can see, like, man, where's he at? All the way down here at the bottom. So, you know, why do I like this? Well, we look at this, man. Since Cooper Rush has come into play, and look, he had 11 targets through his first 9 games. Luke did, right? He's got 20 targets in the last 3 games since Cooper Rush has come into action. Since he's become the starting quarterback, since Dak went down. And with the struggles that we've seen from the Cincinnati team, man, I don't know. I feel like he slips by. I feel like the attention's going to be on CeeDee Lamb. The attention's going to be on Jake Ferguson, Brandon Cooks. I think kind of Schoonmaker just kind of slides in under the radar and finds his way into the end zone at some point. So, like I said, man, in that one touchdown that he did get on the year was just 2 weeks ago with Cooper Rush in action. It was a nice little, I think, like about a 20-some yard touchdown, man. It was a nice little play. He was wide open in the end zone as well. So, like I said, man, this is a shot. This is a big shot. So I don't know that I put a whole unit on it personally. It's definitely a risky play. But even at a half unit, you cash that, we're up 5 units. You know what I mean? So it's a big one there, man. But said, man, these Bengals, they struggle against tight ends, and there's always that like guy that sneaks under the radar. Look, the last time the Bengals played the Cowboys, Noah Brown tore him up. Noah Brown, right? It wasn't CeeDee Lamb. It wasn't, they had Tony Pollard back then still. This was a couple years ago. And Cooper Rush was the quarterback as well, threw like 200 and some yards, 2 touchdowns, I believe, no picks. Cooper had a better game than Burrow in that one. Burrow was running for his life against that pass rush of the Cowboys. I think that Schoonmaker has quite the opportunity here to just kind of slide in under the radar. It's going to wrap it up here for Week 14. If you guys found this content helpful and useful, please do not forget to smash that like button down below for me and hit subscribe if you have not already. And that's going to do it, guys. Let's have a great Week 14. I hope you all cash out. We'll see you for Week 15.